It's a packed Friday. We look ahead to the Bison football matchup against Southern Illinois. High school football returns tonight, and there's a huge matchup in Grand Forks. And UND hockey starts their season against St. Thomas tonight as well. Lot to get to. Hot Mic starts right now.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota. Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. Welcome to this, finally the end of the week edition of Hot Mic. Thanks for joining us however you are on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN. Hello everybody in Rapid City. Also streaming on inform.com and WDAY+. Good to be back. It feels like it was just yesterday I was here. Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo today. Don't worry, Dom will be back tomorrow as we continue our busy weekend. North Dakota State taking on Southern Illinois. We'll preview that matchup in its entirety coming up later on in the show. Dom will be back for that. Bison game day tomorrow as well. Bison post-game live. We also have soccer on Sunday. Busy weekend ahead. Not just with NDSU athletics, but with a whole lot going on. Loaded show for you today. As I mentioned, it's Friday. High school football is back today in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, you name it. And we'll have all the coverage for you on the networks of WDAY. Big matchup in Grand Forks tonight. Central taking on Kindred. Couple of unbeaten teams going at it in Grand Forks this evening. We'll have Central head coach Jake Schauer on the show later on this morning to preview that huge clash in Division 2A in the state of North Dakota. That's coming up a little bit later on. We're your Grand Forks one-stop shop today as well. We're going to keep with that theme throughout the morning. Big day, big night, I should say, in college hockey. North Dakota opens up their season. St. Thomas coming into town. First game at the Ralph in 2025. Brad Schlossman will join us later on this morning to help preview that series. It is a home and home today and on Sunday. Sunday, UND will play in the Twin Cities, and it has been a crazy start to the college hockey year. Yesterday was absolutely insane. If you missed it, if you haven't followed along, don't worry. We'll get you caught up to start hour number 2 a little bit later on. As I mentioned, we'll preview the Bison matchup against Southern Illinois coming up a little bit later on this morning. We'll hear from Saluki head coach Nick Hill, one of the veterans now in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. He spoke with Dom yesterday. We'll hear from Coach Nick Hill coming up in a couple of minutes. And just because Dom isn't here, that doesn't mean that we can't have an Izzo on the show, and we're going to keep with our usual Friday tradition. Dom's dad will join us to wrap up the show this morning, give us his picks for the week, and we have to get his reaction on his New York Yankees dropping out of the playoffs on their home field once again. I'll walk on eggshells when we get to that point, but we'll hear what Dom's dad has to say about that. That's coming up towards the end of the show today. Again, appreciate you for joining us. Let's get into it. Going to be a fun one today. A lot to get to. And I want to start this morning by handing out a shout-out to Jennifer Lopez and the Bison volleyball team. If you missed it, last night we had our first Bison volleyball broadcast on WDAY Extra for 2025. NDSU was hosting Oral Roberts last night at the Benson Bunker Fieldhouse. Great crowd. It was the annual Pink Match, spreading awareness for cancer. There was a really nice ceremony before the game. Now, not long ago, we had J-Lo on the show talking about the hot start to the season, and the Bison have not cooled down since then. Really, really fun match. NDSU was 9-4, undefeated in conference play coming into this one. Oral Roberts was 2-24 or 2-14, and things haven't been going well for Oral Roberts over the last couple of years, but they did not look like a 2-win team yesterday. They gave the Bison all that they could handle. It went to 5 sets. North Dakota State would eventually pull it out. Big night from Lauren Jansen, junior outside hitter, at 17 kills leading the way. Really impressive to see what she could do. It was back and forth. Then we go to the 5th set, and NDSU just put the hammer down, and they took the 5th set with ease. So they're now 4-0 in conference play. So want to give a shout-out to them this morning on a really fantastic start to the year. It's their best start to Summit League action since 2022. That year they went 5-0. They have an opportunity to go 5-0 again. So far, the Bison are 7-0 at Benson Bunker Fieldhouse this year. So if you haven't had the opportunity to go and watch them play this season, definitely recommend checking it out. Always a great environment in there. Again, the pink match last night had a ton of people. They've won their last 9 in a row in that building, which is really impressive. I was looking at the Summit League standings for college volleyball this morning. South Dakota State, they're in the top spot, but North Dakota State's right there with them. Both teams are 4-0 in conference play to start the year. NDSU, as I mentioned, 10-4. They were picked to finish 6th in the preseason poll. And I know preseason polls are worth the paper that it's printed on, but they're proving to play above that. So North Dakota State, they'll be back in action again here soon. Our next broadcast will be on October 21st. South Dakota comes into town. So looking forward to that. We'll have 7 o'clock first serve. NDSU and SDSU is coming up on October 16th. That is down in Brookings. So that is going to be a huge matchup in the Summit League. The next one for the Bison is actually tomorrow. They stay at home taking on Denver, and that is at 11 in the morning. So you got a busy morning tomorrow. You got Bison game day from 10 to 11. You can go check out Bison volleyball and then swing over to the Dome to check out NDSU and SIU. That's a pretty good day. Bison volleyball rolling, no doubt about that. If you weren't watching Bison volleyball last night, which I don't know why you weren't, there was plenty of other things happening and a lot to get to. So I want to roll some highlights of the action that we saw throughout Thursday evening. We'll start with what happened in the MLB playoffs. A couple of good games. If you're Eric, one of them wasn't a good game. Our first game that we'll preview this or look back at the highlights this morning, Cubs and Brewers in Chicago. Game 4 of the NLDS. Bottom of the first, 2 runners on for the Chicago Cubs, and Ian Happ drills this one to right field. A 3-run homer to start the first. Eric, your Cubs, or your Brewers, I feel like they give up a home run every single time in the first inning. What's going on with that? Top of the 5th, 2 runners on for the Brewers looking to do some damage. Matthew Boyd shuts the door on Kristen Yelich. That would be the end of his night. He would go 4 2/3 and 6 strikeouts. He would come out of the game. Danny Palencia would come into the game and get the pop-up. No damage done by Milwaukee, and that would end the inning. So we go to the bottom of the 6th, 2 runners on. The 9-hole hitter for Chicago, Matt Shaw, with a golf swing to center field. Kelly's waved home. It's a 4-0 lead for Chicago, trying to keep their season alive. And then from there, it was a home run derby. Kyle Tucker, solo shot, bottom of the 7th, 5-0 lead for Chicago. Everything working right for the Cubs in front of a packed crowd. Michael Busch wanted to add on to that, just a little insurance in the bottom of the 8th. A 6-0 win for the Cubs. Eric's been in a grouchy mood all morning. So they will go to Game 5. See if his Brewers can pull it out there. Good game for Chicago last night. That leads us into Los Angeles. The Dodgers taking on the Phillies in Game 4 of the NL Division Series. Dodgers lead the series 2-1, so they win and they move on. And it was a great start from Tyler Glasnow on the mound for L.A. 6 innings, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts. Take that in the postseason any chance you can. This is where things get interesting. Top of the 7th, Max Kepler. I remember him, former Twins great. Grounder to the right side. Freddie Freeman gets the play at first, and then botched over at first, or gets to play at second, Freeman did, and then botched at first base. So Nick Castellanos coming up to the plate. He drives one down the line. That would be a double, scoring Max Kepler, and the Phillies would take a 1-0 lead in the 7th. L.A., with their backs against the wall in the bottom of the 7th, would walk Shohei Ohtani. He would get walked, bases loaded. Mookie Betts, which is not a better option with the bases loaded, he gets walked, so we're tied at 1. And then we go to the bottom of the 11th, and things get really interesting here. Bases loaded, Orion Kerkering on the mound for Philly. And this is just situational, routine baseball that was not on display. Kerkering gets the ground ball. The easy play, and they do a good job of highlighting here, the easy play is to go to first. There was 2 outs. Just get the out at first and move on. He tries to make the play at home, even though his catcher, JT Realmuto, was telling him to go to first. Airmails it. Phillies end their season on that heartbreaker. And L.A. walks it off. So they win the series 3-1 against the Phillies. They advance. Again, earlier this week, the Blue Jays advanced. We'll have Game 5 of the Cubs and the Brewers coming up on Saturday. Game 5 of Seattle and Detroit coming up tonight, 7 o'clock on Fox. So a couple of good baseball games coming up over the weekend. That wasn't all that was happening yesterday. We had Thursday Night Football as well. Let's show you the highlights of that one. Eagles taking on the Giants last night. I didn't know this, and this is a pretty interesting stat in the morning. 10-game win streak for the Eagles against the Giants on prime time. 10-game win streak. That's the longest win streak since 1970. We pick it up in the first. Jackson Dart getting the start once again for the Giants. He'll take off and scramble and score. I feel like we've seen that one before. 7-3 lead for the New York Giants. Under 6 minutes left in the first. Same score. Dart evading once again, able to connect with Wan'Dale Robinson, breaks a tackle, and he is off to the races. Who would have thought this was going to happen? A 13-3 lead for the New York Giants. That's the first time New York has scored more than 7 points in the first quarter in 81 games. Can you believe that? Jackson Dart's doing something to this team. Under 2 minutes left to go in the first. Shovel pass. Dallas Goedert finds his way into the end zone. The Eagles starting to climb back a little bit, 13-10. 9 minutes left in the second, and this is where I know a lot of football fans were just rolling their eyes. The Eagles go with 4 straight tush pushes. Brian Daboll thought there was a false start on that one. They didn't call it, so it's 1st and goal. Hurts again, stuffed. Let's do it again. Another tush push. Come up with your opinions as you will. Do you like the tush push? Do you not? 4 of them in a row. I've never seen that. That's pretty crazy. But they get the touchdown, so it worked. But Cam Scatterbo didn't like it. He has been a wild man this season. He scores his first rushing touchdown. Scatterbo again finding the end zone there. And the Giants extend their lead. And he can do bat flips. Impressive. Scatterbo has been a man on a mission. 27-17 at this point. This is where things got a little scary for Giants fans. Jackson Dart goes down on the sack. He's shaken up after the play, so he's got to go to the medical tent. And you would have thought all chaos broke loose when Dart went to go checked out by the medical staff. Brian Daboll coming in to check on him. He wants him back in the game because he knows who's the backup quarterback. Cam Scatterbo is one of his best friends who wants to check on him. Daboll's telling Dart and the medical staff to hurry up. Now, good sign. Eventually, Dart would come back into the game, which is good, not just for the Giants, but for the league. Always good to have young quarterbacks back out there. So he would come back. Eagles try to get something going, and Jalen Hurts throws a pick in the fourth quarter. That breaks a streak of 305 consecutive passes without an interception. It was the longest active streak in the NFL. Cordell Flott getting the interception and returned it for 68 yards, and Scatterbo with his second rushing score. If you got him on your fantasy team, you look like a genius. New York goes on to win 34-17. Who would have thought that was going to happen? Not me. Not me at all. They might be a team to watch moving forward. Dart goes 17 for 25, 195 yards and a touchdown. Scatterbo, he had 3 touchdowns, not 2. 19 carries, 98 yards. Hurts, on the other hand, 283 in that first interception in a long time. Goddard, good night from him. 9 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown. So that'll help out some fantasy owners at least. Been a tough stretch lately for the Eagles. Great stretch for the Giants. And that leads us into a busy NFL weekend coming up. Again, we'll have Dom's dad on later on this morning, give his picks for this upcoming Sunday and Monday. Looking forward to that. With that being said, let's set up the rest of the show once again. Look at our guest lineup brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Coming up in a couple of minutes, Dom spoke with Saluki head coach Nick Hill. We'll hear that conversation coming up in just a moment. Also, later on this morning, Jake Schauer, the head football coach at Grand Forks Central, will join us to preview their huge matchup against the Kindred Vikings coming up this evening. Then in hour number 2, we're chatting Fighting Hawks hockey. Brad Schlossman will join us as the Fighting Hawks open up their season against St. Thomas tonight at the Ralph. And again, at 10:35, Dom's dad will join us to wrap up the show this morning, give his picks, and we got to get his reaction on the Yankees. That's coming up later on this morning. All right, we're off and rolling. A Friday morning edition of Hot Mic is off to a fast start. Nick Hill is next on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City, and streaming on Inform.com. Big day tomorrow. North Dakota State, Southern Illinois back in the Fargo Dome. We'll have all the action for you on WDAY. Coverage starts at 2:20. Kickoff is at 2:30. Again, we'll have Bison game day tomorrow, 10 to 11 in the morning. And after the game, Bison postgame live, which you can catch on WDAY Plus and Inform.com. The Salukis, impressive this year to say the less. Dom had the opportunity to sit down with their head coach, Nick Hill, yesterday. Here's a piece of that information as we get ready for tomorrow's game inside of the Fargo Dome.
Have you exceeded expectations through the first 5 games? Is this what you thought?
Well, I thought that we would have a good team. And like when we talked in July, just really the leadership that stuck together, and those guys that were at media day, and really all of our captains didn't play for us last year, but remained, and the growth that they had, really just being able to step back when you have something taken away from you. And I just saw the from winter conditioning and the summertime, when your older players are your hardest workers and best players that lead the way, feel pretty confident type of group that has. I think 5 weeks in, we all understand the longevity that you have to have a successful season and the challenges that are ahead. So, but to this point, I think, as far as the focus of the group and the way that they've came out and played in games, I think that we've proven that we have a good football team.
Being a former QB, is this as what you envision DJ Williams could be running your offense?
Yeah, I think, I said that some at media day as well. And I think people close to me, I'm from here, and, obviously my family lives here. My brother played quarterback here. I've said that I feel like he can be the most talented quarterback that we've ever had here, as far as just the skill that he possesses. I played here, and I've played with Joel that was before me that's in the Hall of Fame as well, that I backed up and helped turn the program around with Coach Kill. I think Joel would be the first to tell you we had some limitations about ourselves, that that we weren't taking 75-yard draws for touchdowns. It's just we might take it for 16 yards and get a first down, but he just has an athletic ability that doesn't come around all the time. But then I really knew that he can be an elite passer as well. Just being a quarterback, being with him every day, him making throws, some that I would even say, like, I wouldn't even try to make that throw, or, because he has a really, really strong arm. And then it just, when just being around him and then being back coaching the quarterbacks now and in that room every day, just seeing his humbleness of wanting to get better, like when it's a inaccurate throw or it's a bad read, like he's already on it before I can, talk to him. So I think, years of coaching quarterbacks, like if you have that, like you're not looking for the excuse, or you're not looking to be graded hard, or you want to put it on somebody else. It's tough. But when you're the first to say, like, I got to get better at that, like, that's on me. My feet were bad. My eyes were in the wrong spot. Or even in game when he comes over now with iPads and it's just like, I had my eyes in the wrong spot, like, call that again. And he's already seeing it. So that's when I knew, like, hey, he's got a chance to be a really good one.
You've been up here 3 previous times as a coach. Is this the best team you've taken to Fargo?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, probably the most skilled group, and then probably the most experienced offensive line. Obviously you watch some tape from those things leading up to this game of just making sure you go back and watch some previous games. Anytime the coordinators kind of remain the same and things, you'll triple check some things on how they played you. And just looking at that, I would say this is our most, experienced offensive line as well. Going into that, we had started a couple guys in that playoff game and things. And so I think the experience of the offensive line has really helped us out this season, and being able to identify things and communicate really well up front. And then I think Coach Prawn, who's really a product of NDSU, cutting his teeth up there, has really just, for us defensively, of having an identity that really, I think what coaches can do is just like, NDSU, SDSU, they rarely try to, when you're going against them, like try to trick you or bring in a bunch of exotic things and being out of place. That's the ultimate compliment to them, is like you rarely get them out of place, right? Everybody, all 11 know what they're supposed to do. Doesn't mean that you can't score on them or they'll miss a tackle, or, those things are going to happen, but rarely do you watch the tape and it's just like, man, this team's undisciplined, or if we motion here, guys are out of place and guys in the back end are looking at each other. You just don't get that. And I think Coach Prawn has brought a consistency of that, of really the preparation leading into the week where our guys are playing all on the same page.
DJ was up here, as you know, Nick, a couple years ago with Murray. Can he count on that experience of being in the dome, of knowing what to expect come Saturday?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Some of our media has asked that as well. I think there's some of that, like it won't be his first time as far as, but I think that this game will be won within those 60 minutes, and that's what I've stressed to our team, and I've stressed to our staff, like, and really for all season, going even Indiana State last week, like it doesn't matter what we've done previously. If we're, really good on third down in the first 5 weeks, and we're, really good in the red zone of scoring touchdowns, like you don't get any bonus points this week because you've been good the previous 5 weeks, like what we do on these 60 minutes. And so I think there's something to being a player, like, hey, I've been there before. I know what to expect. I know where the student section's going to be. And I know, those things, kind of veteran players feed on that. And there's something to being a young guy that just doesn't really care, that just is going to go play hair on fire and excited to be somewhere for the first time. So I think for our group, it's a good mix, and some of our guys have been there, some haven't, and looking forward to a fun environment.
You are a great quarterback mind. Give me your evaluation of Cole Payton through 5 games.
Yeah, I think, we got to see him because we played SEMO right after you guys, game planning for SEMO, and I was really impressed. And I'm really close with Coach Took, SEMO's coach. He coached me, and so, he's probably one of the closest people to me in the profession. We even talked a little bit before their game about like, man, he made some impressive throws in that game, and I think that maybe didn't surprise them, but didn't realize that how accurate of a thrower he's been. I think he's proven. I mean, I'm not that I'm proud. I don't know him, proud of him, but like just to see guys in this era like stick with it and develop. And because I tell recruits all the time, this is a developmental game. You're going to be better with more birthdays, and when you stick in the same system, and you understand. And then when you get your time, you're going to be able to play like Cole Payton. If Cole Payton transfers, he's getting in a new offense. He doesn't know the coordinators. Does he play like this? I don't know. It's going to be a lot harder. I know that. And now he's been out there and he plays the game the right way. He's extremely talented, like DJ. I'd say these are two of the best in FCS as far as the size and athleticism and the truly, both coordinators, defensive coordinators have to be like worried about playing great defense and then it's a first down. Like Cole Payton's done that a lot this season. DJ's done it. Where it's just like, man, that wasn't a great play call. They've got it schemed up, and then it's one of your most explosive plays of the day because they just go and make plays. And so that's a credit to both those guys being really good players.
You see a shootout on Saturday, the potential for one?
I don't know. They've played really good defense. I always pull up the explosive play reel against them, cut ups that you watch, explosive runs, explosive passes. Maybe there's something that they've given up. There's just not many explosive plays against the Buys. Those are short. Right. And then a few of them you throw out because then you look at that, like rewind and be like, oh, it's 59-0 at Tennessee State, and those are guys we're not going to be playing against. And so, man, they're really tough to be in a shootouts with. But we have to be good in situational football, whether that's 20-17 or 17-14. I think that'll at some point somebody's going to have to go on a 2-minute drive and be great and move the football and try to go win it, and that's what you want.
If you're able to win Saturday, is this bigger than the win you got over them in the spring of 21?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, this would be a huge win for our program, for our guys. I think that no matter what, even from those guys last year, losing NDSU to South Dakota and still going and winning a national championship. So this won't define our season. I think looking back, like in the spring, like we had to have that win as a program. We hadn't had those wins yet, and then that helped us the next year go beat SDSU in overtime. Yep. And, then it's like, okay, we've done this a couple times, but yeah, it would definitely be up there. They've, being at NDSU, is a different deal too. And so I think that we have the group that has the mindset. Now we just have to go play good football.
Last thing, I really appreciate your time. How much do you enjoy coming up here, Coach? And I know we talked about this briefly in July about this environment and what it's going to be on Saturday.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. Our bye week was 2 weekends ago, and man, there was just some good college football that night. It was Oregon, Penn State, and it was Alabama and Georgia. And you just think of those environments and the fun that it is. Like that's what college football is supposed to be about. Some of it is going on the road in hostile environments. When you're coming back for reunions and stuff, you're talking about those things. Remember that time we went to so-and-so and there was, for us, it was like Northern Iowa, homecoming. It was sold out at Northern Iowa. It was loud. We had to go on silent count. Like, you remember those games. So that's what's fun. So yeah, I'm excited about, and that's what I'm so appreciative of coaching in this conference is that you get an opportunity to play at the FCS level in front of fan bases that care and it matters to them. And I've said this over and over a couple of times. I wish that we could fly some more people up from our just administration and everything. Not that they don't do a good job here, but to see like how everything matters up there, the video board, the entrance, the everything, you guys do such a great job of creating a good atmosphere that'll be fun to play and coach in.
Always great to hear from Saluki head coach Nick Hill, previewing a big matchup tomorrow against North Dakota State at the Fargo Dome. Again, kickoff is tomorrow at 2:30. We'll have all the coverage for you on WDAY. We'll talk more about that game coming up a little bit later on this morning, but we're due for a break because there's another big game coming up tonight, Grand Forks Central and Kindred. Central head coach Jake Schauer will join us in a couple moments. That's coming up next on Hot Mic. Welcome back on this Friday morning edition of Hot Mic, WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City. Big night of football tonight in North Dakota and in Minnesota. Our WDAY games of the week tonight. On Extra, we'll have West Fargo Cheyenne against West Fargo Horace, a rivalry matchup there. Looking forward to that. In Minnesota, we'll have Barnesville and DGF, 7 o'clock start time for that on WDAY2. A lot of good football happening around the region, and there's a huge game in Grand Forks. 2 versus 3 in Division 2A. The Kindred Vikings make the trip north to take on Grand Forks Central, and that's where we welcome in friend of the show, Grand Forks Central head coach Jake Schauer, joining us to preview this big matchup. Jake, I appreciate you taking some time this morning. I know it's been a hectic week, and I'm glad you were able to come on. It was about a month ago you were on the show talking about the hot start 2-0, and you guys have not let up since then. 6-0 right now. What has this ride been like this season for you and the team?
I think it's just a testament to how hard these kids have worked. This is a crew, they were freshmen when I got here. And from day one, they've slowly and surely just gotten better and better and better. When they were freshmen, they didn't win many games. And now that they're seniors, they're getting a taste of what it feels like to win a few football games. And it's just, like I said, it's a testament to, having a junior, senior, and sophomore class that really complement each other well, and then they play football the right way.
You said last month when you guys were 2-0, now 6-0, that the verdict was still out on if you're a good team or not. Is that verdict still out? Is tonight the measuring stick, or what do you think about this team this year?
I think that's a safe assessment that, it's every week kind of is a test to see how much better we've gotten. And there's no better test than Kindred. They're extremely well coached. They're deep. You look at their offense, you look at their defense, you don't see a glaring weakness. There's not one kid that you're like, well, if we do this, we can go at this kid. No, they're strong across the board. And like I said, they're extremely well coached. And it's going to be a real test for our guys to see how disciplined we can play and play assignment sharp football.
What was your reaction when the announcement was made that Kindred and Central Cass, they're going to move up to Division 2A?
I've coached at that single A level, and when I did, Kindred and Castleton, they were kind of top dog. I was in Thompson, and we had some pretty good teams, but when you faced off against a Kindred or Castleton, you knew you had to bring it that much more. The quality of athlete that they're producing is just so high, and they're well coached, and they're doing things right in the weight room. So when they were moving up to AA football, it's like, okay, there's 2 tough opponents that are entering the EDC, and I think both of them have showed that they belong, and really sometimes it doesn't matter the size of the school. It's more about, kind of like what Coach Butler said when he was on your show earlier this year, where's your talent level? Who are you competing with? What do you look like? And both those teams are highly talented teams that deserve to be in AA football and are doing a great job, and they're well coached.
I want to touch on who you guys have on your team coming up in just a second, but when you look at Kindred, obviously the eyes go to Brooks Bacco and Luke Starcevic and the big-time offers that they've gotten, and they're still fairly young in their high school career. They got another year after this one. As an opposing coach, how do you game plan that, knowing that you're going up against 2 very high-caliber athletes tonight?
Yeah, when you're game planning, the first thing you do is you look at what other teams do really well. And what they do really well is they move their 2 big guys around. Starcevic and Bacco on the offensive side of the ball. Coach Starcevic does a really nice job at disguising what they're doing, moving them around the field, using their strengths. So with us, it's a matter of how can we tweak our defense, or how can we use our defense to try to slow them down, maybe bring some pressure from different places, run some different coverages, things like that. And then offensively, it's just a matter of, when we run the ball, how do we run the ball at Luke? How do we run the ball away from Luke? When we throw the ball, how do we throw the ball at Brooks? How do we throw it away from Brooks? You know, you really have to be smart about picking and choosing your play calls a little bit more, like just being more deliberate tonight. You know, every play counts that much more because those two just do so much in covering ground. You know, you look at Baco playing safety, it's like, holy smokes, that guy can cover the whole field. He's like a center fielder out there. So trying to do some different things with our offense this week, but at the same time, you have to stay true to who you are. If you panic and try to, you know, run 90 different plays this week, it's not going to work. If you panic and try to get out of your base defense, it's not going to work. You just have to trust what's gotten you to this point so far, and I feel like our coaches do a good job doing that.
I know you and the Star Civic family go way back. Is this kind of a special moment tonight when you reconnect with Luke?
Yeah, you know, I got nothing but love and respect for that family. You know, everything they've done for me in Thompson was phenomenal. Coaching with Alex, coaching Jake, teaching Luke, you know, Mac on the sidelines. Like, it's football is a big family affair, right? The people you meet coaching football, it's absolutely it's special, you know, being able to, and it goes farther than that. You know, I played with Coach Burgad in college. It seems like every week you have connections to the other team, and that's what makes the fall such a special time for us coaches and players too.
What's the buzz been like around town leading up to this game? Is there a wealth of knowledge from the fan base knowing that this is a big deal tonight?
There might be, but we just really don't pay attention to that stuff. You know, we stay pretty close and comfortable in the confines of Purpur Arena. You know, we get our practice done on the practice field. We get our film work done in the bleachers. We're a pretty blue collar team that tries to steer clear of the social media, ignore, you know, the press, and just play Central Knights football, you know, kind of stay true to who we are. And we're a blue collar physical football team who plays the game the right way. We're going to respect our opponent, and, you know, whether we're 0-6 or 6-0, we're going to handle our season the same way.
I want to talk about some of the guys on your team here for a couple of moments. The quarterback for you guys, Noah Lee's putting together a solid year. What have you seen from him as he goes on throughout the season running your offense?
Growth, nothing but growth, physically, mentally, every aspect of the game. He has grown. You know, Noah has always been a great kid. He's a kid that started some games for us as a sophomore. You know, when we went on a run to the state championship, you know, we gave him a little bit of a chance to try to not have Jack Simmers at quarterback and use him somewhere else. And, you know, Noah did an okay job, but at the end of the day, we just needed Jack to be Jack, and that worked out well for us. But with Noah, last year he was kind of thrown to the fire, and we knew we'd be an extremely young team. We didn't have many seniors, and it was a lot of growing pains for him. But I think the best thing that's happened to Noah is that we have some competition for him. You know, Brody Ledegy is a sophomore, and he plays a little bit every Friday night, and they both do different things so well. But just to see those two complement each other, compete with each other, and coach each other has been really special for our football team. You know, when one of them's on the field and one of them's not, they come back and they coach each other up. And it's been something that, you know, we've been trying to get to for a while, is building depth at the quarterback position. And obviously it starts with Noah, but Brody will play some tonight too. And Brody just does such a nice job throwing the deep ball, whereas Noah, he's a little bit more of a student of the game. He's going to read the defense. He's going to take what's there. And it's been a really good thing for our football team because, I mean, any coach will tell you it all starts with quarterback play.
A month ago, you brought up Naz Fisher, your running back, and just how good he was at the start of the season, and he has been dynamite over the last 4 games since we last talked. I was looking at the numbers, 742 yards and 11 touchdowns is not bad. What can you say about him? Is he one of the best-kept secrets in North Dakota, or is he getting out there a little bit more?
Yeah, I think you nailed it with that one. He is the best-kept secret in North Dakota, you know, and I think kind of like I just talked about with our quarterbacks, the best thing we've done for Naz is we run 4 or 5 running backs every Friday night. You know, Naz only has 75 carries on the year. So, yeah, it's great that he's racked up those yards, but he should still relatively have some fresh legs because he hasn't carried the ball 120 times like some of these other premier backs. So Naz he's a great kid, and just like Noah, he's gotten better and better every year. Naz didn't start playing football till the end of, 8th grade and didn't come back out till the middle of his freshman year. So he's still relatively young in football terms, but athletically he does things that I have never seen high school running backs do before in my 12 years of coaching. And a lot of that is the work he's put into the weight room, but he's very natural. He respects the game, respects his opponents, and he's just a grinder, and he can really wear on a team. But just like Noah, luckily for him, Anton Perales is there to, spell him, and he'll get his 10 carries tonight. And then there's a sophomore, Carson Cutterba, who comes in, and he's just kind of like he's a ball of lightning. He's got big play potential. And then there's two other big guys that I kind of call the closers. They're just going to get you 4 yards no matter what you need, and that's Logan Voorhees and Johnny Sherrick. So really nice to have a room like that, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't start with Naz Fisher.
Defensively, you guys have been really good this year. I was just looking at some of the box scores from throughout the year. There's that one outlier game against Fargo South, but besides that, you're holding opposing teams to small margins, and you guys are putting up big points on the board. What can you say about your team defensively as they head into this big matchup tonight?
They're really coachable. We have two defensive coordinators that work really well together, and they do a nice job coaching these kids up. And these kids know that we're a very routine football team. They know what to expect Monday through Thursday. It's going to be the same thing every week at the same times. And those kids have really bought into, when we're in the film room watching film, that needs to translate to what happens on the practice field, and what happens on the practice field needs to translate to Friday nights. So being able to take that progression into Friday nights, and that they're going to throw a curveball. Kindred's going to run something we've never seen tonight. Right. So then it's on our defensive coordinators to really adjust quickly. And from there, can our kids understand the adjustments, and can we make those adjustments quick enough where Kindred doesn't burn us? And that's every Friday night, and that's every team that, steps on the field. It's how quick do your coaches and players make adjustments to kind of out-battle the other team.
Well, that leads into my last question here for you, and you and I were talking about it in the break, just the competition in Division 2A this year. I mean, there's minimal separation between the really big schools and Division 2A. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think the parity this year more than ever has really shown, and I think Kindred really started that party by knocking off Horace, and then Horace continued that by going on a roll in AAA football, which a lot of people probably didn't expect. And I've said it like 4 times already today, but two very well coached football teams with athletes, and that's a deadly combination. And whenever a new school rolls into town like Horace did, it does affect Cheyenne, and it does affect West Fargo High. Whereas, those new builds are going up in Horace where, it's going to spread out the talent level just like in Minot. Minot North is affecting Minot High. So to really, when the new schools go up, the parity gets better and better and better. And, I think both us and Red River are kind of trying to build up our programs to the point where if we do get pushed to AAA football, we have to be ready,
Yep, absolutely. Jake, I appreciate you taking time this morning. Always a pleasure to have you on. Best of luck tonight in your big matchup against Kindred.
Hey, thank you. Onward Knights.
There we go. Jake Schauer joining us from Grand Forks Central, the head football coach, taking on the Kindred Vikings tonight, a battle of 2 versus 3 in Division 2A in North Dakota. We'll have highlights of that one on First Down Friday coming up tonight on WDAY News at 10. I believe in total we're getting to 13 games tonight that we'll show you on the news at 10. So that time of the year, it's a fun one and a massive game, not just in Grand Forks, but a lot of big games all across the region. We'll touch on some of those games coming up here in the morning. Again, a reminder for you, Brad Schlossman joining us at 10 o'clock to talk UND hockey. That's coming up next on Hot Mic. Big thank you to Nick Hill and Jake Schauer for joining us on this Friday morning, chatting football today on Hot Mic. We're going to turn our attention over to some hockey in just a moment. Brad Schlossman will join us in a couple of minutes. We'll talk about UND's season opener against St. Thomas tonight at the Ralph. That's coming up next on Hot Mic.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. Time to chat some hockey.
Shot score! North Dakota wins!
The best college hockey writer in the country is on deck.
North Dakota, champions of the college hockey world.
Here's Brad Schlossman.
Always great to hear that music. Brad Schlossman from the Grand Forks Herald joining us on this Friday morning. Brad, I feel like it was just yesterday you and I were here talking UND hockey. Now we're officially ready to get into the full swing of things. Are you ready for the season to start tonight?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a long off season of a lot of writing about coaching makeup, roster makeup. UND really turned over its roster this offseason. So now it's time to get to watch some games. Got to see a little bit of exhibition last weekend, but, I always think that you can't tell a whole lot till you start getting into real games, and you probably need to see at least a month sample size before we really know what everyone's looking like around the country.
North Dakota taking on St. Thomas to open up the season. It's a home-and-home series this weekend, today and on Sunday, at the Ralph tonight, and then down in the Twin Cities on Sunday. Brad, I know you just said you can't take a lot out of the exhibition. North Dakota beat Manitoba 7-0 in their exhibition last week. Was there anything that jumped off the page to you at all?
I saw when they had a scrimmage, I could kind of see some chemistry between Max Swanson and Cole Reshny. I was curious if Jack Kernan can play on a line with those guys. Well, he had 2 goals in that game, so I think that's a really good sign for Jack Kernan. The goaltenders weren't tested a whole lot, but when they were, they made the saves they needed to make. I thought that was a good sign. And then the other thing, when they played the scrimmage, I thought one of their power play units was really sloppy and not very good, and that unit scored 3 power play goals against Manitoba. So a little bit of progress. I don't really have a whole lot of huge sweeping assessments from that. Max Swanson's looked great all fall, and I thought the exhibition was a continuation of that. He had 3 points in that exhibition.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and I've seen his name pop up a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. He's been out of a couple of team events. E.J. Emery, been out with an injury. Is there an update? Is he going to be available tonight that you may think, or what's the latest on him?
Yeah, he went through full practice yesterday. I saw, Dane Jackson had a conversation with him after practice. I don't know whether they've made a decision whether he's in or out. He's either in or he's close.
Okay.
Because the fact that he's going through the full practice, to me, signals that, he's either playing or he's really close to playing, one or the other. So that's going to be the one thing I'm looking on the line chart when I get to the rink tonight to see if he's in or not.
Okay, we'll see a really, really good player for the University of North Dakota. Hopefully he can get out and join the team for the start of the season. Let's talk about this season opener tonight. St. Thomas coming into town. And for those that haven't been following along with St. Thomas hockey or the landscape of college hockey, the Tommies are 1-0 on the year. They beat St. Cloud State to open up the season. We're showing you some of the highlights, which pains me to watch, but they play pretty well. For those that don't know, St. Thomas, when they moved up, it was a slow start in the entry to college hockey, and now that really the school, all the athletic departments, now that they have all grown, the hockey program has grown. In my opinion, this is a team that really could become a national power soon. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they have the resources. They're about to open a brand new arena. I believe the players moved into the locker room on Monday this week. There's money that's backing the school. And it's right in the Twin Cities, which is the heart of an area that produces the most number of college hockey players anywhere. It's a really nice campus. There's a lot of things going for St. Thomas, and I'm not super shocked to see the Tommies ranked as a top 20 team right now entering this weekend series. They're pretty good.
I'm looking at their roster right now. It looks like they got about 17 guys from Minnesota, a couple North Dakota guys on there as well. Did you get the opportunity to watch their first game? What did you see from them as they are about to head into the Ralph tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the top line was really, really good. They jumped off the page. whenever Wallen was out on the ice, like something was happening. Every time St. Thomas was making plays and buzzing, you'd look up and be like, oh, there's number 3 again. I was in the mix of it. Van Vliet is a guy that came in. He played for the U.S. national team development program for 2 years. Then he went and played 1 year a junior. Now he's coming into St. Thomas. I thought his speed and skill was really noticeable. So, they've got those guys on the same line. Their second line, they've got some bigger bodies. Nathan Pilling, who scored the game winner, he's one of those CHL recruits they got out of the WHL. He plays center on that line. Cage Sturzer is a 6'5" power winger, and so they've got those top 2 lines are really noticeable. I thought against St. Cloud State, and it's going to be interesting to see how UND handles that. Do they match lines tonight at home? That's something Brad Berry loved to do. He was very good at matching lines when he had last line change. Will UND try to match D pairings whenever those guys are on the ice? I'm really curious to watch how the game is managed.
Speaking of Brad Berry, if I'm not mistaken, his son Bauer is a freshman on this St. Thomas team. You have an article out on the Grand Forks Herald, and I didn't realize this, just the connections between the two programs. Yeah. There's plenty of them, isn't there?
Yeah, first time these teams have ever played, but I think fans are going to be really familiar with a lot of names on the team. Bauer Berry's a freshman defenseman there, Edmonton Oilers draft pick. Kind of a shutdown defenseman style, won a Clark Cup last year with Muskegon. Obviously, his dad, Brad, played here, was an assistant coach here and the head coach for the last 10 years. Mason Poolman, he's a defenseman on St. Thomas. His father, Mark, has been the athletic trainer at UND for 31 years, so his dad's going to be on the other bench. His brothers, Colton and Tucker, played at UND. Very familiar name here. Carl Gehring, the national champion winning goaltender at UND. He's been an assistant coach here for 13 years, including the last 6. He's going to be on the other bench. And then Lee Gorin, who is the MVP of the 2000 Frozen Four, he's started to do some ops work with the team. And I think he'll be back in the building this weekend as well. So some very prominent UND hockey names over at St. Thomas. And young program, but some familiarity there. Actually, I think their first starting goalie in program history was Peter Tomei, who spent 4 years at UND as well. So a lot of these guys there, Grand Forks people, aren't going to need much of an introduction.
Yeah, Peter Tomei, that's a name I haven't heard in a little while. That's cool. It adds to this game. Again, as you mentioned, first time these two programs are going to go up against each other. And as we mentioned as well, it is a home and home. So at the Ralph tonight, then they're down in the cities. They'll play not at the X. It's at Grand Casino Arena now. So they'll play on Sunday at 5 o'clock down there. Thoughts on the home and home? St. Cloud did this with St. Thomas when they first joined college hockey, and it was their first home game. The place was empty. Now, I don't expect that to be the case on Sunday when they go down to the Twin Cities. UND travels much better than SCSU does, and St. Thomas has a better following now.
Yeah, for sure. And the home and home was not by design. This was supposed to be a series, 2-game series this year in Grand Forks, 2-game series next year in St. Paul. Well, after they signed that, the NCHC admitted St. Thomas as a member starting in 2026. So now they're going to be playing conference games next year. So they decided to wipe that series off the schedule and just give each team a home game this year. So that's why they're doing it. This was not planned. I don't think we're going to see this in the future. But yeah, St. Thomas, I think over the years, as it's built its program, has started to get better and better crowds for that XLNG game. Grand Casino Arena. We'll have it die hard. And, I would think they'll have a decent crowd. The one thing is most of the UND fans might be fans who live in the Twin Cities.
Right.
It is a Sunday night game. If it were Saturday night, maybe you'd see some more people make the drive. I'm curious how many people will drive out for that. I think you'll see a lot of fans who live in the cities and alums who live in the cities come out for that game.
That would make sense. Looking forward to UND opening up their season against St. Thomas. I got to ask you about just the start to the college hockey season in general. I was off at NDSU volleyball last night, so I didn't get the opportunity to see what was going on. But recap what we saw last night. What did I see? Western Michigan goes down, Michigan State goes down, and Penn State goes down. Those are 3 top 4 teams. That's crazy.
Yeah, 3 of the top 4 teams lost at home. And I think that might be a little preview to what we're going to see this season. Now, with the CHL players being eligible for college for the first time in more than 40 years, that has exploded the player pool. More than 200 players entering college hockey this season would not have been eligible under the old rules. And when you have a deeper player pool, it means there's more parity and there's more depth. No matter what sport you're talking about, the larger the player pool, the more parity there's going to be. And the player pool has never been larger, and I think it's going to lead to parity. Night 1 would lend to that with the upsets. I don't even know if I want to call them upsets. Okay. I mean, Ferris beating Western Michigan at home, yeah, that's an upset. Clarkson, going and winning. New Hampshire winning. I think we're going to see so much of that I by the end of the season, we might not be calling them upsets anymore.
Right, and I was just thinking that too. I mean, I'm looking at the top 5, and it's your usual suspects: Western Michigan, Michigan State, Boston, Penn State, Denver. They're always going to be in that conversation. But you mentioned it last time you were on. This could be one of the most exciting seasons of college hockey in recent memory, and this just showed it. What happened last night with these upsets, if you want to call them that or not.
Yeah, and the one team we didn't bring up in the top 4 there was BU. BU won its opener against Long Island. Long Island outshot BU in that game.
Yeah.
So
wild.
I think it is going to be exciting in the sense that every night you go to the rink, every night you flip on the game, you don't know what's going to happen. I'm kind of bored when I, flip on the game and I already know what's going to happen before it happens, and then I watch it happen. I just don't think that's entertaining. So I think it'll be entertaining. I think fans of powerhouse teams that are used to seeing their teams win 80% of their games and easily beat bottom teams, I think they're going to be a little frustrated because they're not going to be used to some of the competition that we're going to see this year. But I think it's going to be fun to watch and follow.
I'm looking at the schedule, and I was going to ask you this last week, but I forgot. Is there a series on UND's schedule this season that kind of stands out to you? I know they got Minnesota at home coming up. NCHC play is always going to be great. Is there one that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Minnesota. That's just I think that's college hockey's best rivalry. It rarely lets you down. Like, these teams just seem to constantly play epic games. The fans are always into it, no matter whether it's at Ralph Engelstad Arena or at Mariucci. It's just one of college hockey's great spectacles for sure. And I think anytime those teams get together, fans on both sides of the rivalry are pretty excited because they know they're going to see an unbelievable product. And a lot of the times you go back and look at the rosters of these old teams when they played each other, and you're like, man, were there some unbelievable players on the ice on both sides. So it's a great rivalry, and anytime those teams play, it's appointment viewing.
Minnesota is 1-2 to start the season with a pair of losses at home. What's going on with them?
Really, they lost 6 guys early to NHL contracts last year.
Yeah.
It's a big roster turnover for Minnesota. Last week, 3 guys out with injury, compounding that issue. I think it's going to be a process for Minnesota when you can't lose 6 first-round draft picks and just keep rolling. That's really hard to do. So I think it's going to be a process for Minnesota. I think you'll see a lot of what you saw in that first weekend against Michigan Tech.
Yeah.
There were times Minnesota looked great, and there were times Minnesota did not look good. And that is the sign of young players in college hockey, even the best. You see the best players look great one night, and then the next night they really struggle. As they get older, you see more consistency. And so I think as a whole, it's a young team. You're going to see some ups and downs from Minnesota this season, and other young teams that are in the same boat. You're going to see some of that as well.
Brad, I appreciate you having you on. It's always a pleasure. Best of luck with the start of the season happening tonight, and have fun at the Ralph tonight.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam.
Absolutely. Brad Schlossman joining us from the Grand Forks Herald, the University of North Dakota, taking on St. Thomas tonight to start the season. 7 o'clock puck drop for that. St. Thomas is the number 19th ranked team in the country right now after their win against St. Cloud State. Really, you can throw any rankings out the window. And as Brad mentioned, yesterday really proved that. College hockey, there is so much parity this year with transfer portal additions for everybody, Canadian hockey players being allowed to come down. Going to be a dynamite year, no doubt about that. So they got the Tommies tonight, and then as we've mentioned, they're down at the Grand Casino Arena, which I'm still not used to saying at all, 5:07 on Sunday. Late start time for that. I'm really curious to see if there's anybody from our neck of the woods up here in North Dakota that's going to make that drive and a quick turnaround to get ready for work on Monday. The big one, as Brad mentioned, is next week. Minnesota comes into Grand Forks. Friday, Saturday series. Should be a lot of fun. We'll see what kind of team Minnesota is when they come up here. They got Clarkson after that, and then some NCHC competition following. Their lone non-conference game in November is against Bemidji, and they also have Mercyhurst as well later on in the year. Then the rest is conference play. So the season is here. It is an exciting time. The NHL is in full swing as well. Opening night was just the other night. A lot happening on the ice. We're in that crossover phase. Basketball starting again here in the next couple of weeks. Hockey is underway. We still got football going, still got volleyball going, still got soccer going as well. Busy time. Busy time. No doubt about that. Good competition all over the place. We'll step aside when we come back. Speaking of good competition, we're going to look ahead to all the big-time high school football games that are coming up tonight across the region. We'll remind you of our games of the week as well. And also, don't forget, Dom's dad will join us at 10:35 and give us his picks for NFL Sunday coming up this weekend. That's next on Hot Mic. Big thank you to Brad Schlossman for joining us to preview UND's matchup against St. Thomas this weekend to open up the college hockey season. A reminder, Dom's dad will join us at 10:35 to give his picks for the weekend. Another reminder for you, a lot of football action across the region that you can catch on the networks of WDAY this evening. Our game of the week in North Dakota, the rivalry between West Fargo, Cheyenne, and Horace. 6 o'clock start time for that in Horace. I'll be out there. It's going to be a fun game. I imagine a completely packed crowd will be there for that one. Horace has been on a tear. Cheyenne, after winning the Dakota Bowl last year, trying to pull together a good end of the season and make the playoffs once again. We'll also have DGF and Barnesville on WDAY2. Kickoff is at 7 o'clock for that. Another rivalry game over there, so that'll be a lot of fun. Our guy Ryan McNamara will be on the call for that one. We'll have highlights of those two games and plenty more on First Down Friday coming up a little bit later on tonight on WDAY News at 10. Usually Dom does this on Fridays, and I wanted to fit it in here as well because it's not just those two games that are going on tonight. There is a lot of really good action, especially across North Dakota. The schedule for 3A is pretty loaded tonight. Fargo, Davies, and West Fargo is going to be a good one. Davies, I've done a couple of their games this season. Powerhouse. Wagon, if you will. I know that's a term we like to throw around here. Davies is a wagon. I'll put him in that mix, running that powered T offense. They move the football. And if they're not in the Dakota Bowl conversation this year, you should put them in. You should put them in there right now. West Fargo, on the other hand, record may not reflect it, but that is a sneaky good team. They've played some really good games against some really good competition over the last couple of weeks, so they could give Davies a run for their money. Again, our game of the week, Cheyenne and Horace on WDAY Extra tonight. The rivalry matchup you can catch over there. Going to be really good. I still have to find out. I haven't done it yet if they're playing for a trophy tonight or not. I know Horace and West Fargo did. Eric tells me that he hasn't seen anything yet, so that might have to be part of my investigative research when I get to the field later on today. But that's a biggie. That's a biggie. As Jake Schauer mentioned earlier in the show, a lot of these Horace kids used to go to Cheyenne. Cheyenne and West Fargo, they're still impacted by Horace moving into North Dakota and starting up their school over there, which is still a pretty new thing to this state. Good game. Two good teams. Looking forward to that. Shanley, another team who's in the Dakota Bowl conversation. They got Fargo North tonight. Shanley, I believe Jack Smattern is back and ready to go, stud quarterback for them. We'll see what they can do against the North Spartans this evening. Big ones out west, Bismarck and Bismarck Legacy. Legacy is having a pretty solid year. One of the few teams to beat Davies this season in a high-scoring matchup. Legacy is a name to be on the lookout for, and I've done a couple of Bismarck games this year as well. Coach Gibson has his guys moving in the right direction. And the Bismarck Demons could be a player in the West as well to make the playoffs. Century's been hot. They got Minot, who's having a little bit of a down year. We'll see what happens there out west. And Mandan and Williston wrap up the 3A schedule for tonight. That leads into our EDC standings heading into this week of high school football. As I mentioned, you got Davies there at the top, 2-0 in conference play. Horace also unbeaten in conference play. Shanley's in that 3 spot, and there's Cheyenne holding on to the number 4. They need to hold on to their spot. They got a comfortable lead against North and West Fargo, but things can change over the next couple of weeks. No doubt about that. Again, the top 4 make the playoffs. There you see Legacy at the top of the WDA standings. Bismarck High's right behind them, so you got 1 and 2 in the West going at it tonight, and then Century and Minot as well. That'll be a good one. Coming up later on tonight, Minot looking for their first win in the WDA. If we're looking at the state polls for 3A, you got Davies at the top at 5-1. Horace is number 2. Legacy 3. Shanley 4. Century 5. Those are the state polls. In Division 2A, we previewed it earlier in the show with Central head coach Jake Schauer, a monster matchup in Grand Forks. Battle of the unbeatens. 6-0 Grand Forks Central against 6-0 Kindred in Grand Forks tonight. Going to be a monstrous game. Brooks Bacco and Luke Starcevic will lead Kindred into Grand Forks against Noah Lease and Naz Fisher, one of the best-kept secrets in North Dakota. We'll see if Central can pull off the upset or Kindred moves on with their powerful season so far. Another Grand Forks team in action tonight, Red River taking on Wahpeton. That should be a fun one. We'll see what those two teams can do as we move on throughout the EDC schedule. And a big one here in the Metro, Central Cass, who's joined Division 2A and been on a tear. They got Fargo South. Out west, Bismarck, St. Mary's, and Dickinson, Watford City and Jamestown, and then this is the biggest matchup out west, Devils Lake and Minot North. Devils Lake ranked 4th in the state polls. Minot North ranked number 1. They're a perfect 6-0. They're definitely in the Dakota Bowl conversation here in the season so far. In Division 2A, the EDC standings, Central and Kindred are at the top. Again, they'll play tonight. We'll find out who that definitive number 1 is in a couple hours' time. Central Cass is in that 3 spot, and Red River's holding on to the number 4 spot, looking to make the playoffs. In the WDA, Minot North, the number 1 team in the state in this division, is at the top. They got Devils Lake tonight, 1 versus 2. We'll see if Devils Lake can jump them with a win. Watford City's at 3, Dickinson's at 4, and then Jamestown and Bismarck St. Mary's at the bottom of that. And as I mentioned, the Division 2A state polls, North, Kindred, Central, Devils Lake, and then Red River. A lot of good games. I was looking at our schedule for First Down Friday tonight. between North Dakota games and Minnesota games. I think we got a total of 13 that we'll show you on First Down Friday later on this evening on WDAY News at 10. Cullen's sending his entire crew out to get highlights of a lot of good games. In Minnesota, besides our game of the week between Barnesville and DGF, we got STMA and Moorhead. We previewed that matchup yesterday. It should be a good one over across the river in Moorhead tonight. So we'll see how that goes. A lot of football happening tonight. We'll have it all covered for you, and that leads us into a busy day tomorrow with North Dakota State football taking on SIU. We'll have that game on WDAY, and also on Sunday, football, the original football, soccer, makes its return to WDAY Extra when NDSU takes on UND. So tonight leads into a busy weekend. There's no doubt about that. All right, we'll step aside. When we come back, we'll bring back a legend in his usual Friday morning time slot. Dom's dad will join us to give his picks. That's coming up next on Hot Mic.
If that was me and you, if you'd have went with a Boston, you'd have been living in the garage. I had a Yankee hat on, of course, which I usually almost always do, but she says to me, if I were you, I'd take that hat off. And I looked at look at it to begin with. I ain't taking my hat off. I know where I am. Yeah, right.
You believe anything that guy says? Because I don't.
He said he was going to marry J-Lo, too, remember? Come on. I finally told your mom. I said, there's no sense. Let's just put TVs in the room because I'm only going to wake them up anyway. So
that's how I got a television?
Here he is. As he does each and every Friday morning, Dom's dad is back. Happy to have him on. You and I were talking off air. We watch each other all the time, but this is the first time we get to meet. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really good, bud. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's when Dom told me that you were able to come on today, I immediately shot up. Yes, let's get him on here.
No problem.
I love your segment every Friday. Happy to be a part of it today.
I love it. It's a good. I like doing it. It's a lot of fun.
You know, I know you know it. You're a local celebrity around here, and it's still running true. I get comments about it almost every week.
A couple times when I've been out there, the people say, "Hey, you're Dom's dad." I say, "Oh yeah, I am."
That's it. I think Dom's here. You rank just a little bit ahead of him right now. I got to ask you, and I'm going to walk on eggshells here when I ask you. And I know Dom brought it up. We're all curious your thoughts after the Yankees game and their season coming to an end. How you been doing the last couple of days?
Not good. I had to go to therapy, but I'm doing better. So it's just. And I wasn't surprised. They've had their number all year, and it was just tough. At least they gave me one good game to feel good about anyway.
Right. So. You got that. If you don't have the clutch hitting, it's just it's not going to come around. They had the opportunity. Right. They had a couple of guys on base, but just couldn't get them in.
Bases loaded, no outs. They just didn't get the good hit when they needed it. That's all.
There's something about these guys at Yankee Stadium in the postseason. When did that happen? I feel like that's a new thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. This year has been that way at home. A lot of games, man.
Now with the Yankees out, you got to pick for the rest of the way on who's going to win the whole thing?
Why are they still playing?
Well, yeah, exactly. I gave up after the Twins traded everybody at the deadline.
I hear you, bud.
No, we got a couple.
No, but if anything, I guess they got to root for Toronto because they beat the Yanks. So, but as long as it ain't the Dodgers, I don't want the Dodgers to win again.
Dodgers, they moved on after walking off Philadelphia the other day.
That was crazy.
That's a play that I would make if I was pitching. I'd ground ball, I'd air mail that to the backstop like he did.
Well, he should have threw it the first anyway.
Exactly.
It was just crazy, but.
Had 2 outs. That's a tough way. That's a tough way to end the year.
It is a tough way to lose it. That game. This guy will never forget that.
No, absolutely not. So the Blue Jays have moved on. They got Seattle or Detroit in the other series, which should be good. Game 5 for that coming up tonight. So are you gonna have your eyes on that one?
Oh, yeah, I watch the American League.
Okay. So we'll see how that one goes. Eric's in my ear, and I know he's a big NASCAR guy. You're a big NASCAR guy. I got to be honest with you. I know absolutely nothing about NASCAR, so whatever I'm going to ask you is going to be a foreign language to me. Are they in the playoffs right now? Is that right?
Yes. They're down to the final 8 now.
Okay, finally, and it's in Las Vegas on Sunday.
They're
okay,
in
Vegas. You got a pick to win? Eric's dying to know.
It's a Ford track, and I hate picking a Ford, so I'm not going to pick a Ford.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with C. Bell.
Okay.
Christopher Bell.
Okay.
Take it off.
Again, no clue. I have no clue. So I'm gonna pick him as well. I think
There
he's
you
gonna
go.
win that one. I think he's gonna win that one. I wanted to ask you, and I know Dom's a big Jets guy, and he's got all of his Jets things in the corner. Is that running the family, or are you a Jets guy too?
No, that's just him.
Okay.
He's a Jets guy.
Are you on the?
I've been rooting for the Steelers forever. I like the
Steelers. Okay, I was
or
wondering.
the Giants. I like the Giants.
I was going to ask, are you on the Giants bandwagon after how things went yesterday?
No, I've always liked the Giants, but my Steelers are my favorite team.
Okay.
Any New York team I'll root for, but you got the Jets are just, I don't know. You just can't.
It's been
they're a heartbreaker. He's loved the Jets his whole life. So.
Wow, it's been brutal football to watch. Did you watch the game last night? Did you see the 4 tush pushes in a row?
Yeah, that was just a joke.
Yeah, could you believe that? That was going on.
And they actually showed the replay where they jumped off sides on the first one. I said, they don't call it,
In a goal line situation like that, you got to have your flags ready to go in a tush push
they're
situation.
not calling it. And they should be called almost every time.
Oh man, that was something else. Should we get into your picks for this week?
Sure, sounds good.
How'd you do last week? Did it go
I was 8-5 last week.
8-5.
From what I had, yeah.
Okay. So we'll see how we do this week. Let's dive into them. Speaking of the New York Jets, they got the early game, 8:30 in the morning, so no one has to wake up and watch them. Going up against the Denver Broncos. That game is in London this weekend. Who's your pick on that? Denver's minus 6.5.
I'm going to take Denver.
I think that's a smart pick. Pick. So Dom's dad will go with Denver.
Jets are a little tough.
Bad football. Really bad football going on with them. All right, the next one, you better tread lightly on this because I'm a Colts guy. You got Arizona visiting the Colts.
You know what? I got knocked out of my my pool last week by the Arizona, so I'm going with the Colts.
There we go. Okay, good. Now
I won't pick Arizona again.
I got knocked out of the eliminator too by Jackson Dart earlier in the year. So if I was smart, I would have picked the Colts and I would have followed that train for as long as I could. This game's going to be a battle of who fumbles at the goal line less, Arizona or Indianapolis.
Give up a touchdown, both of them. It's crazy.
We'll see how that one goes. Los Angeles at Miami, a noon game in Miami. Who do you got for that one?
I'll take the Chargers.
Taking the Chargers over Miami, who's been off to a fairly rough start. It was a tough game against Carolina last week. New England and New Orleans. New England's minus 3.5.
They're looking pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with New England.
Yeah, New England's been on a tear as of late. New Orleans was projected to be the worst team in the NFL. That hasn't really been the case, but New England, they've been on another level.
Cleveland, they're all right as long as the Jets are there.
Well, yeah, exactly. As long as the Jets can hold down the basement, New Orleans are going to be pretty good. Cleveland and your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Take New Orleans.
You'll take
the Steelers.
Yeah, you taking the Steelers on that one?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Joe
Flacco.
It's a good
rivalry game.
Yeah,
good rivalry game.
What do you think of Dylan Gabriel? Did you watch him last week against the Vikings?
Yes, he's doing pretty good. They got to give him a chance. That's all.
You know who they should give a chance is Shedeur Sanders.
Well, I don't know why they're waiting, but
and Joe Flacco.
He's got to learn to shut up.
We'll see it. We'll see if that. Well, he did. He mimed. Did you see that? He mimed his answers to the press the other week.
That was even worse.
Oh man, guy can't catch a break there.
No.
Other noon games going on. Dallas and Carolina. Dallas has been red hot on offense lately.
Yeah, but their defense is terrible. But I'm going to go with the boys.
You're going to go with the boys. All right. Seattle and Jacksonville. Now, I need Seattle to win, but Jacksonville, they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, they are, but I think Seattle will cover this one.
You think Seattle's going to cover
They had a tough one last week.
They did. Although Gray Zabel over there has been looking pretty good this season. The Bison now on the offensive line. He's been a good spark plug for them.
Yep. Jacksonville's looking pretty good, too. But.
Yeah, they are. Jacksonville, after beating the Kansas City Chiefs last week on that wild touchdown, I couldn't believe that was going on.
That was a crazy game, man.
Los Angeles and Baltimore. Oh, man, Baltimore's fallen off.
Yeah. It's amazing how you lose one guy and the whole team just crumbles.
They've
lost a few. They've lost a few, though.
Tell me about it. Which one are you going with?
I'm going to go with the Rams.
You're going to go with the Rams.
They're giving too many points. But.
Tennessee and Las Vegas.
He knows I don't feel bad.
Exactly. That's what Eric was telling me too. Tennessee and Las Vegas as we go to the afternoon games. Who do you got in that one?
I lost track, Eric.
You're good. Hey, Eric was telling me the same thing too, and I lost it there for a second. Tennessee and Las Vegas. Who you got on that one?
Give me Las Vegas.
You're going to go with Vegas after they got throttled by Indianapolis last week? That's a gutsy call.
They got to pick up a win at home.
That's true. Tennessee's not good.
Tennessee's just don't look good at all.
Joe Flacco's Cincinnati Bengals against Eric's Green Bay Packers. Can Flacco do it twice in 1 year?
I don't think so, but that's a lot of points, 14 points, but
minus 14.5. Can you believe that?
I'm going to have to piss Eric off and go with the Packers or the Bengals.
You just told me in my ear that he'll cry if Flacco can get it done once again. Oh man, that's going to be something.
Only the points. I like the points.
I agree. With a margin that big, you got to go with it. San Francisco and Tampa Bay, the other afternoon game.
Well, I'm going to go with the Bucs.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Bucs have been looking good. Baker Mayfield's pretty solid.
Especially at home. So.
Exactly. Sunday Night Football, you got Detroit and Kansas City. I was on the show yesterday. I said Kansas City's horrible. I don't know how they're favored in this game.
Well, I don't either, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
You're going to go with the Chiefs, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
At home, I'm making the Chiefs.
Okay. We got a pair of Monday Night Football games. Buffalo and Atlanta is the first one on ESPN. What do you think there?
The Bills.
You're going to go with the Bills. Yeah, Bills are looking pretty good. There's no doubt about that. And then the last one this week, Chicago and Washington.
I like Washington.
I agree.
Yeah. This is a game that changed the Bears last year, though. That Hail Mary they let go, that just ruined their whole season.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Dom's dad's his picks are in for this weekend. I like your lineup here. I think you can do some damage with this one.
Oh, we'll see.
Did you win any money yesterday at all?
No, yesterday I blew it on it. I didn't even play teams. I just played guys to get hits.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, or in the football game. Barkley cost me a parlay.
Oh, yeah.
I had to have 80 yards. I think he got 60 or something like that.
I couldn't believe it when the Giants pulled out the effort that they did. But, tough
Yeah, that was
tough game to bet on there.
That
was good to see. Tough game to bet on there.
It is.
I got to ask you about NDSU and SIU. I looked at the line last night. Eric's telling me now the updated line is 17.5. What do you think on this game here this weekend?
That's great. Well, at least the points are coming down.
Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely.
I mean, they're usually giving 30 points, but
yeah, it's been crazy. You gonna go with NDSU in this game?
Yes, I am.
There we go. All right, North Dakota State, and he's picking them to get the win over SIU. A couple of really good offenses going at it this weekend. Hey, it's a pleasure to finally get the chance to be in front of you for once and to be able to chat with you. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you back here next Friday.
All right, man. Take it easy. We'll
You
be
too.
watching you.
Have a
good game.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Right. You too, bud.
Dom's dad joining us on this Friday, giving us his picks for a busy weekend. Always a pleasure to have the opportunity to chat with him. All right. There we go. A couple of minutes left on the show here on this Friday morning. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll let you know what's coming up on this super, super busy sports weekend ahead here in October. That's next on Hot Mike. Our Eliminator Challenge continues to roll on here. I'm out of it. I was knocked out in week 4 when Jackson Dart decided he wanted to play the game of his life against the Chargers. Who else do we got left here? We got Matt, Brody, and Jack. They're still moving forward. It looks like Matt went with Green Bay over the Bengals. Not a bad choice. Brody, smart move, going with the Colts. Smart move by that young man over the Arizona Cardinals. And then the Jack man said he's still in it. He's got the Steelers. He's going with his grandpa's team in this one. So we'll see how the Eliminators Challenge goes from there. We're down to the final 3. I couldn't believe it's already that quick. Again, Shields gift card on the line there for those guys. Before we get into what to watch in our busy weekend, I had some breaking news to me. It came out yesterday that I wanted to pass along. Pretty neat deal that's coming to the FM area here. It was announced yesterday that Banana Ball is going to make its way to Fargo in June, the 26th and the 27th. Next June at Newman Outdoor Field. That's going to be pretty cool. I don't know if everyone's been following along with what Banana Ball is. It's kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, fan first baseball entertainment. It's kind of an alternative there. I couldn't even tell you what all of the rules are for Banana Ball. It's a lot different than traditional baseball, but it is taken off. It is making waves. It'll be at Newman Outdoor Field on June 26th and 27th. One thing for you to note, if you're interested on going, for those that want to purchase tickets, you got to enter a lottery, which you can find on the FM Red Hawks website by October 31st. And I'm sure we have a link to that on inform.com as well. So keep a heads up by that. You got to act quickly if you want to go to Banana Ball in June. All right, with that being said, a couple of minutes left in the show. Let's wrap things up with what to watch for this weekend. All right, another reminder for you, our North Dakota High School football game of the week at 6 o'clock on WDAY Extra. Battle in West Fargo, Cheyenne taking on Horace. I'll be out there for that one. Looking forward to that. Should be a really good game. In Minnesota on WDAY2, Barnesville taking on DGF. 7 o'clock start time for that. We'll have highlights on First Down Friday coming up later on today. These are the 3A games coming up later on tonight in North Dakota. 2A games tonight as well. There's plenty of them. Grand Forks Central and Kindred is the big one in 2A. Devils Lake and Minot North, the big one out west. Other things we have going on tonight are Tigers and Mariners, 7 o'clock on Fox. FCS football, Cornell versus Harvard, 6 o'clock on ESPNU. And then, of course, UND hockey opens up their season against St. Thomas, 7 o'clock on the Midco Sports Network. Again, a reminder for you, tomorrow we'll be over at the Fargo Dome. Bison football back on WDAY. Kickoff against the Salukis from Southern Illinois at 2:30. Our coverage starts at 2:20. Bison game day in the morning from 10 to 11. Myself, Jeff, Dom, and Kyle will get you ready for that big Missouri Valley Conference matchup. Bison post-game live after. And we're not done there. On Sunday, we have UND and NDSU soccer on WDAY Extra from Dakota Field. 1 o'clock kickoff for that. Looking forward to that to wrap up the busy weekend. A lot of great NFL games going on this weekend as well. You got your game in London between Denver and the Jets, Colts and the Cardinals. Vikings are on a bye, so you don't got to worry about them. Sunday Night Football is Detroit and Kansas City. 2 Monday Night Football games, Bills and the Falcons, and the Bears in Washington. A lot more going on. Is there anything else there, Eric? Yeah, there's a couple more. Indiana, Oregon, Blue Jackets in the Wild in the NHL. Then again, that Sunday Night Football game, Lions and the Chiefs. Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. It was a pleasure. Dom will be back with us tomorrow for the Bison football game. Big thank you to all of our great guests for joining us to wrap up the week. I'll see you later on tonight in Horace, and then we'll see you at the Dome tomorrow for Bison football. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your Friday. Have a great rest of the day.